Let me introduce what's going on today for our first setup here. I think this gentleman, Chef Daniel Boulud, needs no introduction in this city, probably in the country. He's one of the great chefs who defined this modern era in New York City. Came here, I don't know, late 70s, 80s, worked like a lot of chefs did at a couple of hotels for not a whole lot of money, worked his way up, of course, rose to prominence at Le Cirque, where Sirio tapped him to replace Alan Sayak. Got 4-star reviews there, opened up his own restaurant, Daniel, where that tradition continued. Besides being a great chef and giving a lot of New Yorkers and a lot of us great meals over the years, he's been a great mentor. There's this storyline of chefs who have helped out over the years, and his restaurants have ostensibly been the graduate school. You know, the Harvard Business School, the MIT, the Wharton School, whatever it is. As a chef, you come up, you go to cooking school, you come out, maybe you're a good apprentice. Then you go to work for good chefs if you're smart. You sacrifice the money, because you're going to learn technique with guys like him, and you're not going to learn it with too many others. And if you look at the list of graduates of Boulud University, it's very, very impressive over the years. He's been the mentor for a lot of the younger chefs in New York today who have become household names. Today, he's going to be, he and his crew are going to be giving us a demo. We have 3 of his protégés with us, Executive Chef Jean-François Bruel of Daniel, Executive Chef Damian, Sansonetti of Bar Boulud, and Executive Chef Olivier Muller of DB Bistro Moderne will be presenting their interpretation of one ingredient, pork, what else? The meat of the moment, perhaps. There'll be a range of culinary styles. I don't know if you could see, they've been here. They're, as usual, with the Daniel production. The mise en place is set up. It looks beautiful, from the charcuterie to the cooked food on the back. This is going to be a treat. So without any further ado, that was enough. Can we have a big round of applause for Daniel Boulud and his team?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome to New York City. For the one who came from far away, I saw that I had a couple of friends from Brazil down there, very famous chef, Emmanuel Basoleil, and his team up there, the Brazilian. And also, I have a colleague also from Venezuela who came, and I saw him. He used to be a sous chef of mine for 5 years, and has been quite a while in Venezuela, and we remained friends since. And also, I want to thank my parents. They just happened to come yesterday, so that kept them entertained by having them here. I just celebrated their 80th birthday a month ago in Lyon, where we had a big party, and we drank very good wine, and of course, we ate a lot of great food. So, congratulations. Also, while I'm the mic, I also want to, and I don't think if I need to speak in front of that because mine is not plugged yet. I want to congratulate StarChef, Antoinette and Will, and the team of StarChef, because they have a lot of courage in creating this event, and they are really, for year 3, I think they have done an amazing job, and it's only going to grow better. So thank you for bringing attention to New York City. And certainly, what's interesting with StarChef compared to many other food events, I think it's really, it's the chef and the professional of the hospitality together, and people who are belonging to the same business. And so it's quite a tight circle in a way. And it's really professional for professional. And also they create a lot of fun. So that's why if everyone kind of came late, I know where you were last night, because I know the couple of parties going on in town. And I know that Will came home back at 4 o'clock in the morning, and Antoinette, who knows when. So thank you for at least waking up and being here. So I'm here to talk about mentorship. And mentorship, I think, has been basically the story of my life. I have a young protégé there who also has worked for me. But also, over the 25 years in New York City as a chef, I think I have trained and inspired and certainly motivated many young chefs. And many of them I choose to stay with me, and many of them I choose to go and try to succeed on their own as well. But so I'm here to talk as sort of a good mentor. I don't know if I was really the perfect mentor, and I was never too easy to work for, but as time is going by, I'm getting a better, maybe a good mentor, but also an easier chef to work for. Maybe because I have greater support from my protégé here as well. Can I have some water? That'd be nice. And so I think all of you who are chef and the one who are not, it's always good to remind itself of what makes a good mentor. I think it's someone that young people can aspire to work for and grow, and certainly to lean to succeed after. Also, I wrote a book called Letter to a Young Chef, and that was really geared to this very young cook or young chef who sort of need a little bit of direction, but also need a little bit of focus in life in order to make sure that they can succeed. And it don't matter who they choose as a mentor. They first have to choose a good mentor, but then they really have to dedicate themselves to the craft and to try to really grow into it and become an asset. I think a good mentor is someone who is also knowledgeable about tradition and respect tradition. And I think today we're going to talk a lot about tradition because we are doing sort of a pig head to toes here. And I'm a big fan of tradition. It belonged a bit to my generation because I think I work with very traditional people. I had very traditional mentor, but I also am very open to how cooking is evolving and how wonderful evolution, innovation, and certainly global innovation in a way help every cuisine grow better. And of course, I think he has to have a good mentor, has to have a clear vision of his style, and certainly stick with the foundation of his type of cooking. I don't think you can work for a chef who is changing his style of cooking every 2 years. I think it will be very difficult to stay focused with what you're learning really and how benefit is going to be, what kind of benefit is going to give you. And of course, a good mentor is somebody who can nurture and retain talent. I think it's important in our business to not only teach people, but to be able to inspire to stay and to become a great asset. And for example, Jean-François Bruel, the chef de cuisine at Damian, we have been together 12 years. He started as a commis, and he finished as the executive chef of my company at Damian, and is really how we sort of, he trusts me, I trust him, and we kept growing together like that. We have to be, I think a good mentor has to be financially stabilized in order to not create any havoc within the importance of his business, and for the sake of maintaining very good staff, being able to pay them well, and being able to give them everything they need to succeed as well and do the best cooking. You don't mind if I keep talking? No? It's good. And of course, a good mentor is somebody who can drive their staff to be mentor as well, but also motivate them to do everything that is possible in your business. And from that, I would like to introduce now all the chefs who came with me. So, of course, we are a little bit too many maybe for a single show, but at the same time, we talked about mentorship, so I thought it would be nice to represent which one I mentored and how we succeed together. And maybe I'll leave few chefs for Carlo Cracco after, because he told me, say, how many chefs are you bringing? 8, 9? I say, yes, just few, but if you need any help, we're here. By the way, there's a fantastic chef after, Carlo Cracco from Italy, where he's going to do the most magical things I've ever seen with fish. So it's going to be quite interesting. But I told him, I said, you know, give me a little time, and I'll give you the stage. So here I am to introduce 6 of my chefs between the 3 restaurants. So here we have the Boulud team, Damian Sansonetti, and Sylvain Gadon, the chef charcutier, and Damian, the executive chef of Boulud. And I'll come back to them. Here is the Daniel team with Jean-François Bruel, executive chef, and Eddie Leroux, chef de cuisine. And here we have the DB team with Olivier Muller, executive chef, and Jim Laken, chef de cuisine, who's going to be the chef also of my new restaurant downtown. We're opening in February. And so he's a chef in training in a way. So thank you, gentlemen. So now, I think they deserve a round of applause already, no? So we're going to start with Jean-François and Eddie. And Jean-François has been with me for 12 years. And we have worked at the old Daniel. Then Jean-François was the executive chef at DB Bistro when I opened DB Bistro in 2001. And he was voted Rising Star Chef by, it was,
2002,
yeah, in 2002. We opened in 2001, yeah, DB Bistro. But he was voted in 2002 Rising Star Chef by James Beer. And at the age of 28, he was certainly a very young chef, but a very talented chef already. And after the executive chef of Daniel left, Alex Lee, Jean-François, I felt, was the first in command to be able to take Daniel. And so we have been together now for almost 8 years, 7 years at Daniel. No, 6 years, 6 years. Anyway. But so Jean-François is preparing a porchetta. So we have a pig here. We have a whole pig, which is going to be break down later tonight and eaten by the staff. But we have a whole array of charcuterie. So from the head to the toes, I'm going to explain you what we have done with this pig and all the different recipes we're going to apply about it. So Jean-François is going to take care of the saddle. And it's called a porchetta, which is a Mediterranean specialty, and is going to explain you a little bit later how he's doing that. Then Eddie Leroux, 6 years together, and Eddie has been at Daniel only, and we has been also one of the greatest assets there. For the one who have worked at Daniel, they know Eddie very well, and always count on Eddie for creativity, for organization, and certainly for friendship. And Eddie is going to prepare the ham of the pork and the rack of the pork in 2 different ways as well, with apple and beer and all that. No, not beer, but apple.
Seed cider.
Apple cider, yeah. Huh? Huh? Yeah, it's okay. And then Damian's going to work with the shoulder of the pig. He's going to do a braised shoulder, a braised shoulder with a Brussels sprout and also a beer braised shoulder. Olivier is going to prepare the belly, and he has a technique where he's going to fold the belly in half in order to keep the belly tightly folded and make it crispy and make a nice recipe out of it. And Jim Laken will take care of the feet and the sort of the different part of the feet from the knuckle to the feet. And it will be a stuffed pig's feet also with lentils. And of course, Sylvain has prepared the array of charcuterie which we'll go through and explain you from the blood to the ears, to the nose, to the tongue, to the bud, what we did with it. And I will prepare something which is very dear to me. I'm from Lyon, and this is called cervelat, truffé, and pistache. And that's a specialty from Lyon where we wrap that either we eat it plain boiled with potatoes, or we wrap that in brioche. So I will wrap that in brioche in honor of my parents, so they'll be happy to look at that. Okay, let's start. So now it's peak time on Park Avenue. I mean, Park Avenue is a bit of a fancy address, but I tell you they love pig, and I've been making pigs for many, many years, certainly. So, well, I would like to start Jean-François first with the porchetta style. He's going to do a porchetta style roast pork saddle, stuffed with Swiss chard, tomato, piquillo pepper, chorizo, asparagus, carrot, and porcini. So it's between vegetable and force meat, and of course the kidneys inside, and piece of liver and kidney, and of course a very good seasoning behind. And Eddie is going to be making the duo of pork York style, the pork legs, and the rack in red cabbage and apple cider marinade. And so it's going to explain you how he brined, poach, glaze the ham with that. So maybe you can both start with that. And you have a mic, and Eddie have a mic, so you can start to talk also in the preparation, maybe one at a time, and work together, okay? And I'm going to, with Sylvain here, also maybe wrap my cervelat, who has been poached. It was made with mostly shoulder meat. And what is the percentage, Sylvain, of fat to, we are using the belly, the shoulder? Vas-y, vas-y. Yeah, pork belly. Yeah. Voilà, le mec. Yeah, it's mostly, we have a percentage of pork belly, pork shoulder, and also ham meat. And of course, pork shoulder dominate a little bit more. Pork belly, pork shoulder bring the fat. The ham bring the flesh, also more lean meat. And we have pistachio, truffle, and the seasoning put in a large casing, beef casing, this one. And then we slide the truffle underneath and emboss and poach that very, very slowly for maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes, let it cool, and wrap it up in brioche. So we're going to do that. Go ahead, Jean-François.
Okay, so the porchetta, we're going to be using some young Swiss chard from the chef garden with some different radishes and beets for the salad. So in the stuffing, you have a little bit of pork shoulder, pork belly. The Swiss chard are just wilted and chopped up. A little bit of shredded onions with olive oil. One whole egg. Then you have a touch of blanched fava beans. A couple pieces of tomato confit. Then we have some sourdough bread soaked up with a little bit of the pork jus. A touch of smoked bacon. And the porcini confit in olive oil, okay? Then for the garlic puree, a little bit of confit garlic in olive oil, and so a sweet garlic puree inside, and some shredded nutmeg. For the seasoning, we're going to use espelette pepper for the spice. Usually I let the meat marinate a couple hours before I grind them, but yeah, we're going to go a little faster. Then you have the offal, the kidney, the livers, and a little touch of blanched sage. And a touch of sherry wine. Tu veux commencer? Tu vas la mélanger ici, non? Okay, so I usually pass this to the grinder to medium roll. Okay, once it's grind up, you know, it looks a little bit like this, you know. Mix it up very well so get a little sticky. Then the saddle is completely boned out.
And while it's stuffing is pork saddle for a second, I'm gonna wrap this one in brioche. Do you have the egg wash? Yeah. So how long did you let it dry? About we let it dry about 3 days before we poach it. 3-4 days, so the meat really, the seasoning get really even in the preparation. And here we have a brioche which has been laid quite evenly, about 1/4 of an inch thick. And just to wrap this, actually there's a very famous restaurant in Lyon called Paul Bocuse. And that's one of the specialty they give you when you sit down at l'apéritif. I was actually at Paul Bocuse with my parents 3 weeks ago. And so now we're going to let it push slowly for half an hour, and then we'll bake it before the end. Tiens, do you have a pan to cook it? Non, non, enlève le... Voilà. Now you can... The knife. And we'll put it on top of the oven there to put it on top of the oven with a this one over with the paper over. Yeah, go ahead, put it there. That's good. It's gonna at about 170 degrees, 60 degrees, or 150 degrees, slightly slowly rise there. So Jean-François, go ahead.
Okay, so here I just put the pork tenderloin, wrapped up in tomato confit and Swiss chard leaves, a little bit of blanched asparagus, chorizo bâtonnet, different colored carrots, and then I'm gonna add a little porcini confit and wrap up the saddle. So you can look at me in the same time, you know. Eddie is gonna start to
let's go, Eddie,
to show what he's doing with the pork leg.
Yeah.
On y va.
So for the rack of pork, we're going to marinate with apple cider, just like 100 grams about. A little bit of apple vinegar, 1 soup spoon. We put a few juniper berry, 1 piece of cloves, pepper, sage and bay leaves. And then we're going to sous vide it and keep it for 12 hours in the fridge until we roast it for next preparation. So I will put sous vide it after. And then concerning the ham we do a brine, which is we use for 15%, so 2 liters of water, we use 15% of salt, so 300 grams, 10% of sugar. So we give a boil, and then we infuse inside some garlic, sage, and thyme, also bay leaves. So we give just a boil, and then cool down, and this will be used for...
Don't worry, we'll put the recipe on the StarChef website. So if you...
I'm sorry.
If you want to know...
So this
exactly
one is a little bit pink
process.
because it's been used already before for the cooked one I have already. So the spice, I remove it. So
this is the size of pig I like to use. It's about, I would say, 70 pound pig. And so the ham really are beautiful to, we serve that, for example, at Daniel where we, are you okay?
Yeah.
The melt there.
Then on both sides, many parts. And then the same thing, we'll keep the legs inside the, sorry.
This is a little
inside
brining
the fridge for 12
so
hours.
On the tip of the needle, there is little hole which bring the brine a little bit inside by the bone part and different part of the legs. And then you massage the legs a little bit to let the brine really penetrate a little bit inside the legs.
Different spot. Find to catch the right muscle also when you put the needle inside.
So you can do also a dry cure, but I think it's much safer to do a wet cure and control a little bit more the salt, as we are not, it's not to preserve this ham, but it's more to season it well on the inside, and then after to poach it, braise it, and glaze it after.
So that's enough. Everything inside I will use.
Let's go.
So the same thing. So we will sous vide both the rack and the ham, and this will be cooked at 62 degrees in a sous vide method for about 8 hours for the rack and 12 hours for the ham. So the ham will be prepped York style. That means it will be roasted after that. There you go.
Un peu d'ail autour, mais un peu de. Hein?
So we'll add some sage, bay leaves, the same, basically the same spice that we use for the brine into the bag. After it's cooked, this will be roasted. So I'm going to show you the ham first.
Some garlic, thyme, sage.
So after 12 hours of cooking inside the bag, we roast it for about 1 hour and a half into an oven, probably 180 Celsius, with some pork jus and pork stock. The skin has been cut it through also to make it able to crisp.
Yeah, it's important to cut the skin so the skin don't break, and naturally also it helps also for the excess of fat on the ham to be able to melt lightly while cooking as well.
And then for the rack, as it's been very sweet through the apple cider, apple juice, and vinegar, so it gets very crispy and caramelized. And we keep a layer of fat, which you can see here, to get some moist to the flesh. So with this, we'll serve some.
Okay, but we'll finish that later. Huh?
Yeah,
we'll go back to that when you plate the preparation after. Huh?
Okay.
So here the saddle, Jean-François has.
So I tied it up on one side, you know, to close the belly.
So of course, if you have a suckling pig, I think it's very good to do the entire suckling pig with that preparation. But when you are breaking down a pig like this with different parts, we only do the saddle, which will do about 8 or 10 portion, just the saddle portion. So
yeah, I make sure I put a lot of fat so the gelatin doesn't stick to the tin foil. And then we're going to wrap it up very tight and roast it traditionally, you know, first a little bit in the pan, couple minutes on each side. And then after that, we're going to glaze it with meat jus, you know. So here you can see, once it's been roasting at 180 for about an hour and 20 minutes, you know. This is the result, you know, after it's glazed. Eddie.
Damian need the micro. Okay, next we are going with Jim. Jim Laken and Olivier together. And so we are on the feet and the belly here. So who wants to start first? Olivier?
Yeah.
Go ahead. So Olivier is from Alsace, so anything close to his heart, that's his soul. And I think we all know at DB Bistro then besides being famous for a famous burger, I think Olivier, after Jean-François, Olivier was the sous chef for Jean-François at DB Bistro for a couple of years, and same thing also. He started as a commis at Damian on 76, and worked at Café Boulud for a while, then came to DB Bistro and took over about 5 years ago, and has done an amazing job. And of course, you really feel the combination between me, the mentor, and being from Lyon and teaching this sort of Lyonnaise style of bistro, and of course, being in New York for so long as well, teaching Olivier about how I want my bistro to evolve and all that. But also the soul of Alsace is very well woven into the soul of Lyon and New York at DB Bistro. So vas-y, Olivier.
So I'm gonna use the belly part, and then I myself like the belly crispy. So what we did with that technique is, first we're gonna cure that belly with some seeds, peppercorn, coriander, and black pepper. So just adding a couple like that, some sea salt, and then fresh herbs. And then we're gonna marinate that for 1 day or two. Those herbs can be lightly chopped or just put all around the belly, and as I say, 1 or 2 days into that marinade, and then that's what we're looking for. When you've done that process, you're going to rinse that belly, remove all the seeds, all the salt, and then I'm going to show you just quickly like that on the board. We add some chopped garlic and chopped herbs, and we are folding the belly like that. And to keep it that way when we cook it, I'm putting it into a pocket in a sous vide bag. So what you can see here,
you seal in the middle.
I seal into the middle to keep the pocket tight, and then the belly won't open as we cook it.
Unless you can find a bag that size, but it's never easy to find them. So.
No, usually it's...
but
so
what's interesting also is then, the belly will keep a lot of moisture inside, so the meaty part of the belly don't dry, and the outside get very crispy.
So,
especially with a small pork like this, it's a little more difficult to do it, and maybe less necessary to do it with a very large slab.
As I say, after it's been folded with some fresh herbs and garlic, we put it in the bag and we cook it for about 12 hours in a low temperature, 62 Celsius. Okay? And then when it's cooked, sorry.
Yeah, we are playing the quick magic trick here because...
When we cook, we just remove the bag and take that piece of belly and straight into a roasted pan.
And also roasted with the fat we really release from the cooking here, using all the fat which is very well seasoned. And
so we are crisping just the skin, and then the inside stay nice and moist. So that's the finished product. Okay?
Voilà. But yeah, we'll explain how you are plating after in a second. And Jim, with the food.
So we're working with the fresh feet today. We're doing a stuffed pig's trotter. So we begin with the whole fresh feet, which are split in half the long way. And then we poach it in just a nice broth flavored with some fresh herbs, thyme, bay leaf, peppercorn, and nice fresh mirepoix for about 3 or 4 hours until it's nice and very tender. And you can separate the skin of the feet from the meat and the bone. So what you wind up with is something like this, which is just the skin, which has been cleaned of all the sinew, all the bone, and such. And we take the meat that's left over, we shred it, and we make a farce out of that. We add a little fresh pork, a little foie gras, mushrooms, and a touch of the liver. Season it up nicely, and what we're going to do is wrap that farce into the feet.
And of course you add fresh meat and the cooked meat of the feet.
Exactly. So we're going to take this, shape it into a little boudin, a little sausage, and basically wrap the skin around it while it's still warm. And the skin obviously has a lot of gelatin, and once we wrap it, we chill it, and you wind up with a nice little sausage. Exactly. So once that's wrapped and cooled, we prepare a nice pork jus, and we've re-wrapped this in caul fat. We sear it, braise it in that pork jus until it's nice and golden brown on the outside, and then re-wrap it and chill it again. And what you wind up with is a little boudin like this. And I can show you the inside. We slice it into nice little slices and glaze that once again in the pork jus. Voila. Now over here, this is what you wind up with, your finished product. So during black truffle season, of course, we finish this with a touch of fresh black truffle. At the moment, we're using the preserved black truffle. Okay.
And you see, the art of mentorship is not for me to only teach the French how to become great chef, but to teach the young American.
Oui. Oui.
And from that, we're going to move to the other young American, who Damian, who is the chef at Boulud. And I tell you, they impress me, the two of them, because they can cook French better than me sometimes. So that's how much I love them, and that's how much I really feel, and they learn well too. Are you on?
I don't think it's on.
Put Damian on.
Okay, there we go. All right, so we have a pork shoulder here. I already brined this guy right here. I scored the skin a little bit. I made the brine out of a Belgian beer here called Boudin. It's kind of a beer if you drink it by itself. It's somewhat of an acquired taste. It's a little tart, but when you cook with it, it really brings out all the natural flavors of it. It's a real true lambic beer. But I find whenever I use it for a brine and then I cook with it, especially with pork, it pairs up really, really well. So we made a brine out of that and flavored with a little bit of salt, sugar, black peppercorns, coriander seeds, chili flakes, star anise, a little bit of sage, and a little bit of thyme too. Heated it up, infused it, let it cool down, and then we shot the shoulder up and then stuck it in the remainder of the brine overnight for about 24 hours. The meat gets a little more firm. It takes on all that flavor. So after that, after it sits overnight, just pat the guy dry a little bit. And then we're going to rub it with a little bit of mustard. Get it all up in there. And then we're going to roast it in the oven with some vegetables, a little bit of aromatics, and a little bit of beer as well. That's what we're going to end up making our jus out of. And you want to roast it covered. For a shoulder about this size, you're probably going to roast it covered for about 2 hours, and then roast it uncovered for anywhere between 35 minutes to an hour, depending upon how crisp you want to get the skin afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, towel.
Okay, we're good. And then we have the finished product right over here.
Voila. Lunch going to be ready soon. Don't move from where you are. So here's the pork shoulder.
And then we're going to serve this with roasted Brussels sprouts and French breakfast radishes.
And of course, it's really fork tender and moist. This is real food for real chef, you know. Okay, the rack is on the move. Jean-François is plating the porchetta as well, so he will explain you that when it's finished. But I'm going to go with Sylvain now, and we're going to go to the charcuterie. And, you know, I'm from Lyon, and for me, charcuterie is something I grew up on. Charcuterie is something my father has done all his life at home, from making sausage to pancetta to make his own ham. We always have about 6 to 8 ham hanging in the cellar. They are full of, they're often full of rats around because we, every time you make a ham, once the ham starts to dry, halfway about 6 months after the 3 months after the ham is starting to dry, he boneless the ham, tie it up with some super strong elastic there, and then he put a mix of flour and lard, and baste the ham where there is no skin in order to make sure that it's protected, but also keep the moisture and create a rat, basically, who is a protective rat. But we don't go that far at Boulud because we can't keep the ham. And then he keep his ham for 2 years, 3 years. He don't know what I'm talking about, but he's good at what he does. So here with Sylvain. Sylvain is not a protégé of mine, but in a way is, as we have opened Boulud and we were talking about pork, I think it was very important to show and explain a little bit how much I love tradition and how much he comes also from a tradition of charcutier. He's from a 3rd generation of charcutier. His family is charcutier also. And as I'm associated also with Gilles Véraud, where Sylvain was the chef charcutier at Gilles Véraud in Paris, in his 2 stores there. Gilles Véraud had 2 stores in Paris, and he's from also Saint-Étienne near Lyon, where all his family was in the charcuterie also for 3 generations. And for me, I wanted to do something special about charcuterie because I think every chef knows how to make charcuterie, but no one can do it like a charcutier. So it was inevitable then to do the right job. I needed a professional with me in order to be able to really work together well. And so Sylvain has been now in a charcutier for what, 10 years? What time you start, 12?
14.
Yeah, 14, yeah. Started at 14 and is from Normandy.
Yeah.
And Normandy, they have a couple of good specialties, including andouille, for example. So the first one we have here is, comment tu l'appelles? Andouille...
andouille de campagne.
Hein?
Andouille de campagne.
Andouille de campagne, yeah, which is a country-style andouille. And we all know that andouille, andouillette, and then different andouille, campagne, vire, and...
Guéméné.
And what?
Guéméné. De Bretagne. Guéméné.
Guéméné, yeah, the Bretagne, yeah. They're all made with the intestine of the pig. And here it's a cross between the meat, the meat part of the shoulder, part of the legs, and also the belly, and also the gros intestin.
Yeah.
Comment on l'appelle? Le
hog middle.
Hein?
Le hog middle.
Hog middle. We use the hog middle intestine to do that. And that's the, do you want to explain? And then after it's cooked, it's smoked, it's cured, cooked, smoked. You want to explain a little bit how we do it?
It smokes for 1 night, and it's cooked for 1 night too.
So what is the blend of meat we have? We have pork shoulder.
We have a pork jowl.
Pork jowl.
Pork jowl, pork belly.
Pork belly.
And pork shoulder.
And shoulder. And then we also have piece of ham, the little...
We have a half casing, half meat.
Half casing inside, the hog
middle.
Hog middle, and half force meat with it. It's a little bit rustic. It's not to every taste. But what we do at Boulud, after we cut it about 1.5 inch thick, and then we pan roast it and serve it warm like this. You can also eat it cold as well. Yeah. And after that, of course, we have the cervelat, truffé, which I think you should put in the oven now and bake. 180, 180 centigrade. That'll be great. And we have also a Rosette De Leon, as I am from Lyon. we're still fussing around trying to make our rosette because it's one thing it was very difficult is to make saucisson. And the rosette, this is a young one, it's not dry enough yet. But this part of the casing is the last part.
Yeah, it's fuseau.
Voilà. It's on the way to the exit, basically. And, and I have even, like, from very, very large pig, in Lyon, I can find rosette who are almost like 4 feet, 5 feet long. And they tie up a piece of ass on the back here also. that's very, it's very special. And I don't know, I have to ask my father exactly where we get it. But so the Rosette De Leon, it's a specialty from Lyon. And it's basically made also with the percentage of meat we have here is?
We have 80% ham meat.
Yes.
And 20% fat, back fat.
But coming from the jaw and back fat.
Back fat, yeah.
Yeah, 80%.
Clean back fat.
About 80% ham, which is, of course, lean and fat, plus about 20% back fat with it. And, of course, the seasoning and the technique to sweat it after it's done. You sweat it for 24 hours, then you dry it slowly and progressively. And when you sweat a saucisson, you bring it up to about 135, 135 degrees?
Yeah.
Fahrenheit?
Ah oui, in Fahrenheit, I don't know.
64.
14 degrees. Yeah, 14 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, 14 degrees, about 54, yeah.
Yeah.
54, 50.
70, no?
No, 70.
No, 60. 60, but
60, yeah.
I don't know in Fahrenheit.
60 degree, where he's lost with the calculation. But maybe if you make friends with him at Boulud, maybe he can give you a few tips on that. And of course, here, Saucisson de Lyon, very much the same, but don't take as much to dry. And we're using also a different casing for that. This one we're using what, the middle?
Yeah, it's just before the fuseau.
Yeah, it's in the.
It's a robe in France. I don't have in here. The robe is we have a hog middle.
Yes.
It's 1 pieces and the hog middle.
Yeah, within the hog middle, there is 1 piece in the intestine where you can really do the best saucisson with. And for us, it's very difficult to find it here. So it's still in the search of it. And in French, it's called the, comment tu l'appelles en français?
La robe.
La robe, the dress.
Ou suivant fuseau.
And it's following the fuseau. That means from this part here, it's that part right before that. But it's very hard to get, and we haven't found the person who can really get us that. We sometimes sort it out from the casing, but they don't sell it independent. And of course, here we have a very famous fromage de tête. So with the head, we have done 3 things. We have done the head cheese, which is mostly made with the cheeks and the side skin of the cheeks and all that. And then we have made with the tongue, we have made a hure de langue with the tongue, with pistachio, and with the groin, and with the nose, the ears, and all the body with a little more cartilaginous. We have the hure and the, comment on appelle celui-là?
Museau.
Museau, yeah. The museau, which means the groin. The ground, how do you say? Okay, whatever. But the nose, the mouth, the nose and the mouth. And so that made with that. So, of course, this one we eat it with mustard. This one is more sliced and eat with a salad like potatoes and parsley and onion and sort of a mustard vinaigrette. With that, it's more en vinaigrette with the museau than with the fromage de tête, it's done more nature. So the head cheese is basically, for the head cheese is cured 1 night and cooked 1 night. Basically, we cure the head whole with also you can inject a little bit toward the cheeks and all that part, and you cure it on the bones. And then after So you cure it for one night and then you cook it for one night. And while it's warm, you take the different parts of the head aside. And here it's made also with the broth, which is very well seasoned. And when the head is poaching, and then after it's even reduced even more. And then we do, again, another infusion of herbs and fresh herbs and chive and all that would just get strained after, but just to give a little fresh boost of herbs there. And we usually do it in a big pavé because it's nice to have it in large cubes. Yeah. It always tastes better that way. Boudin blanc, black truffle, boudin blanc. So that's made with what part of the pig there?
I take half pork belly, half pork shoulder.
Yeah, pork shoulder, pork belly. And then it's bland. Yes, go ahead.
Half milk.
Half milk, yeah. Half pork shoulder, half pork belly, and half milk in quantity for that part of meat. And the milk is infused. So whatever flavor you want to give to, if you want to do boudin orange, you put some orange peel and all that inside. You infuse your milk, and if you do boudin aux truffes, you put some truffle inside as well. And of course, it's made into the RoboCoupe, into a very fine meat. So it's a little tricky because you have to work with the temperature of the meat and the milk. And I don't think he wants to tell you how he does it. But at the same time, it's basically, I mean, it's a beautiful sausage. And in France, boudin blanc aux truffes during the Christmas season, it's a very big thing. It's a I mean, it's really one of the delicacies we love to have for Christmas. Then saucisson en brioche, which we are baking right now from Lyon. Boudin noir. So the boudin noir blood sausage is made with 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 blood, 1/3 onion, and 1/3 fat. And the fat, we use the very delicate fat from, what are you using, the hog fat?
I mean, no, I take the fat and the good fat and jowl.
Yeah, in the jowl is one of the best fat because it don't really melt and it stay moist and not so fatty. So boudin noir, of course, it's very special because I think all of you chefs, you love that stuff. And I remember my parents, we used to slaughter pig at home, at least 2 or 3 pigs a year. And every time the tradition in France is that when you have a farm, you share the blood sausage because it's not something you're going to store, you're going to cure, you're going to keep for long. So you take a plate like this and you put like a circle or 2 of blood sausage, and then you put the lungs, you put the heart, you put the liver, you put a piece of fat, you put a piece of bacon. What else they put? And then they cover it with the cold fat, and you give it to your neighbor. And when the neighbors kill the pig, they bring you one too. And you can really compare how good you are and make yourself even better. And it's called a fricassé. Fricassé in French, where it's basically that offering you give to your next farmer. So here now we have 2 pâtés, grand-mère and grand-père. And you want to talk more about the boudin noir? I mean, what's important with the boudin noir and what's the most difficult is that the blood has to be very, very fresh. The blood cannot be coagulated. And so it was a battle for us to get it, but now we have a direct source of a very good, and a lot of our pork we buy also at Heritage Farm, and they're very wonderful. I mean, they're doing a very good job with that. But it's the same with the blood, it's the same with the ham. We didn't bring a big ham because Eddie is doing a ham, but we, for the ham, it's very important, and pork in general should be very, very fresh when you do charcuterie, extremely fresh. And because the pH is at the highest, and le pH est très haut, non?
Le pH 7.
Comment?
7, il doit être neutre.
Yeah, which the pH should be at 7, which is neutral, which is really when the meat is basically a day old or no more. The pork, whatever you do, you should never have pork which has been vacuum packed, or pork who has been, I mean, the pork should always be as fresh as possible in order to get the best quality and for the pork to retain its moisture, for the pork to also be able to absorb seasoning and retain moisture as well. And so for the Boudinois, it's the same thing. The freshest the pork is, the blood is, the better it is. And what casing are you using for this one?
Menu de porc.
Menu de porc, which is the small intestine, the same as also Boudin Blanc. Anyway. So, grand-mère, grand-père. So in the grand-père, where am I here? Grand-père, yeah, so it's the grand-mère, we have about half liver and half jaw, which is below the neck. And
we have the bread and milk.
There is bread, there is milk, there is eggs inside, and it's really a pâté de campagne, sort of liver pâté de campagne, very spreadable in a way. It's more of a, it can be spread or it can be eaten like this. It's always, it don't matter which terrain, it's always better at room temperature than too cold, because then you don't get that sort of very fondant feeling of it. And also all the seasoning rise up when it's at room temperature as well. And then the pâté grand-mère is made with mostly a piece of ham, from fresh ham, a lot of piece of fresh ham, foie gras inside, and also a force meat. You have what, shoulder?
Jowl.
Yeah,
Jowl.
Mostly shoulder and jowl meat. And of course, after you can season it with anything you want. Of course, the seasoning is important in a terrine, but what's important, I think, is to pre-season your meat. And tu la saisonnes combien de fois à l'avance la viande?
48 heures.
Yeah, 48 hours. The meat stays seasoned 48 hours before we grind it. And so it has really a bit of a curing already before you make your terrine. I think it's very important. And then here we have jambonneau. And that's also something where in France you buy a little jambonneau and you basically put it in the oven like this, baste it with a little bit of lard, and eat it warm and crispy with a nice salad or, what do you eat your jambonneau with?
Potatoes.
Potatoes, yeah. And
mustard.
Sorry. So the bone is only a little trick to show that actually it's a jambonneau. But the part of the jambon here is the, by the knuckle, is basically the knuckle of the jambon. Huh?
It's just the chunk.
I don't see. And some other part, and then what we do is we wrap them together and cook that wrap in the shape of the jambonneau, like this.
I cook sous vide for 72 hours.
And this after, once it's shaped and wrapped, it cooks sous vide for 72 hours. For how long? At what temperature? 62?
66.
6?
Yeah.
66? 72 hours. Voilà. So that was the charcuterie from Sylvain. Thank you, Sylvain.
Thank you.
I know many of you have been at Boulud already and tasted the charcuterie. So, and here we have now. Can you give a little bit of roundup of what you have here?
Present. And after we invite.
So for
oui,
the
en français. D'abord, il y a le présentateur qui va parler. Après, le vidéo.
Et après vous.
Voilà.
Ok, parfait.
Okay.
But I think they have Carlo on the microphone too. But it's okay, Carlo. You can speak Italian. I'm speaking French.
Yes.
I'm almost finished, Carlo.
So, chef, what I did is a zucchini aioli, just to season that meat a little bit. And then we have some crushed zucchini. We have the pork belly, which is crispy on the outside and then nice and moist in the inside. And a little bit of sauce vierge to finish that.
Voilà. So it's a bit of a appetizer, light and crispy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Se l'è portata a
And
casa. Ha fatto bene.
pig's feet, Jim Blanken.
So we have the stuffed pig trotter with the black truffle jus. It's served over a bed of the fresh flageolet beans from the green market with a nice little salad of fine herbs and frisée and some shaved summer truffle on top.
Fresh flageolet, that's delicious with the pig's feet. And then we have from Boulud the shoulder, the braised shoulder.
So here we have the braised shoulder, sliced it up and pulled some of the meat out. And then we took the Brussels sprouts. Instead of traditionally just roasting them, we shaved them really thin with a little bit of some shallots, cooked them down in French butter. They got nice and tender, then served it with a little bit of glazed French breakfast radishes and some of our pan drippings and a little bit of pork jus around it.
And then we have the porchetta, which
So the
can see the
porchetta,
stuffing.
you can see the presentation dish here, you know, and the sliced one is served with a little salad because, you know, it's a pretty heavy and rich dish, you know. So just a salad of young vegetable, baby turnips, a little crispy chips of vegetable as well, and some glazed Swiss chard.
And mustard cream.
Mustard cream, and the jus has a touch of espelette pepper inside.
So it's always served between a salad and a roast, in a way. And that's the porchetta here, of course, the shoulder and the leg and the rack.
So the rack and the ham is served with apple confit with cider vinegar, honey crisp apple with green apple mustard, potato with pomme gaufrette, and some mustard green salad also, and a red cabbage crispy.
And you see it, and the cider gave a very good sort of sharp glaze to the pork.
Oh, well, where do you want? No problem.
Voila, that was our pig's feast.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you. So now, you know, and it don't matter where you eat in my restaurant, they all can be able to cook you a good piece of pork. So.
Yeah, this food looks beautiful, doesn't it? We're going to have a brief Q&A here. If anybody has any questions for the chef, it's a great time to get them one-on-one. So if you could raise your hand, we'll have, thank you, someone walking around with a mic.
To me or any one of the chef.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Dizon, and I live here in New York City.
Speak in the mic.
Carolyn Dizon, I live in New York. I'm a food writer. And I came to Bar Boulud soon after it opened, and I was salivating when I looked at all the charcuterie that was inside the case. But I also know that most of the people that I'm friends with are very resistant to eating parts that they're, you know. So have you or your staff been educating the customers that have come in, or have you found that there's a certain amount of resistance with respect to some of the charcuterie?
Yeah. No, absolutely. But we have also, I mean, today was a show on pork. We could have done a show on chicken with charcuterie. We could have done a show on lamb with charcuterie. We could have done a show on rabbit with charcuterie as well. And that's what we do at Bar Boulud. We have a wonderful chicken, and les produits qui n'ont pas de porc. Chicken, rabbit, lamb, beef, duck, where they are 100% of that thing. And so it's not always about pork, charcuterie. It goes way beyond just pork. But of course, pork has such an amazing spectrum of specialty and also possibility. But no, we are very sensitive to that, and we do care about it, yes. It's a little bit like a chef on his menu always have a vegetarian dish. And always, I mean, like we always have a tasting, a vegetarian tasting, because we feel that some people don't care about seafood or meat, and we can really give them as much excitement with just vegetable. Voila. Another question? Way up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Jean-François?
Hi, Chef. Rick Farmer from Memphis, Tennessee. I just was wondering, how long does the rosette dry?
How long what?
Rosette, how long does it cure or dry?
Oh, to dry, I think a good rosette needs about 4 months to 4 mois pour une première rosette. Huh? Yeah, it depends on the system, but normally 2 months could be possible if it's accelerated by enough draft, but otherwise between 2, and then you can keep it for 6 months, 8 months. My father we keep the saucisson, the sausage, easily for a year and a half. But what he does is, after maturity, when we feel that the saucisson is dry, we wrap them in newspapers and we put them in a suitcase in the cellar. And it seemed like to seal them, and they can stay like this. I don't know if you know that technique. But no, you don't? That's farmer's technique, because you know you only kill the pig once a year, and you got to keep that saucisson the whole year. So after he has dry, you don't want to let it dry and dry. So we wrap it up in a suitcase and put it in a wrap it up in paper and dans le journal, dans une valise, dans le frigo. Yeah, in the newspaper, it's very good to keep it after. So you don't lose moistures and you don't lose flavor, and it sort of like stabilize a little bit the thing. But in New York, you don't need that problem. A good answer? C'est bon? Okay. Anyone has, I don't know, I don't see. Everybody's good, no question? No one want, sorry? I know. If you weren't so many, I would have given you a taste. But if you go to Boulud, they'll be waiting for you. But now we're going to leave room to Carlo Cracco, who is an amazing restaurateur from Milan. And I had a chance to spend 3 days with him. And I think it's going to blow you away with some very interesting things. So let's go home. Thank you. Let's do a picture.